What is going on, everybody? Welcome back, and in today's video I am going to be going over my top 15 running backs for the 2026 NFL Draft. Remember, these are preseason rankings and they're bound to change throughout the college football season, but I thought this would be a fun video to do for you guys. And as we continue to go through my summer scouting, this running back class looks really good. I'm not going to say it's on par with last year's class, which I would argue was the best running back class I've seen in my lifetime, outside of maybe 2017. But this group has a lot of different types of players, very similar to last year. And I think this has a chance to have one of the best running back prospects of the last 5 to 10 years. If you guys are new to the channel, though, consider hitting that like and subscribe button. With July right around the corner, we are going to be starting to up the uploads. So I haven't been uploading as much. I've got a few videos planned for this week, and we're going to get back into the swing of things. So be sure to ring that notification bell so you never miss out on a video. Also, comment down below, who do you think I should have put in my rankings? We'll go over some of the honorable mentions who just missed my list at the end of the video. But I don't want to waste any more time, guys. Let's go ahead, get into it, starting with my number 15 guy. And that's going to be Anthony Hankerson out of Oregon State, a guy that I was very pleasantly surprised by when I turned on the tape. There was a very close race between him and about 3 other guys, but he ended up getting the edge for me because I think he is probably, I would argue he's one of the fastest running backs in this draft class. A guy that is incredibly explosive. He does have really good speed for the position. I wouldn't be surprised if he's a 4.3 guy. I think he has that type of breakaway speed, and when he got to that second level and hit that second gear for Oregon State, he really made an impact. This is a guy that ran for over 1,000 yards, 15 touchdowns last season, forced 57 missed tackles, had 24 runs of 10 or more yards. At times, he looked like a human pinball, a guy that was just bouncing off of would-be tacklers, and I loved his contact balance. It's not going to show up necessarily on the stat sheet, averaged 3.06 yards after contact per attempt, but a guy that I thought had really good vision. I thought his footwork and his ability to set up defenders, get him to bite, and then the quickness to juke to the outside was really impressive. I like some of what he did in the contact balance. You'd like to see that 3.06 get up a little bit more. I do have a question mark there. I think it's good. It's not great. But the reason he's at 15 and not higher is he's just not a very big running back. He's 5'8", 200 pounds. And because of that, he doesn't run with great power between the tackles. He doesn't really bring much as a blocker. And to further that point, I just don't know if he's a 3-down back. Had only 151 yards through the air this past season. He also had 3 fumbles this past year, so definitely something I'd like to see get cleaned up, but a guy that I think can run with great vision. I think he's incredibly explosive, and a guy that I look to take another jump this year for Oregon State. This is a weird team. I think he's going to be a big focal point for them, and so I've got him at number 15. At number 14 of my rankings, that is where I'm going to have the first Texas running back in Trey Wisner. Wisner was a guy that, I looked at him, was one of the first running backs I looked at for this exercise and really wasn't that moved by him. But when you compare him to the rest of the class, there are some things that Travion Wisner can do that are really enticing. That's a guy that's 6 foot, 194 pounds, ran for over 1,000 yards this past season for Texas, had some really big games in there, 158 yards against Kentucky, 186 yards against A&M, 110 yards against Clemson, a guy that really stepped up as the year went on. He, I think, is going to be one of these 3-down contributors. I don't know if he is like this do-it-all back, but he's a 3rd-down back through and through. I think he is one of the better pass-catching backs in this class. Had 44 receptions for 311 yards this past year, so we can get it done through the air. I also liked what he showed as a blocker. He's a guy that runs with power. He can run between the tackles. He constantly is keeping his legs churning. He is a good downhill runner. And I liked what he showed in terms of his contact balance. I thought that he did a good job of fighting for those extra yards. But I don't think he's got great vision. I just don't think he is this runner that is going to be able to really see lanes open up. I don't think he's the most athletic guy, doesn't have the greatest long speed. I don't think his footwork is all that great. And there were a lot of times where he was just tackled behind the line of scrimmage. You just didn't want to see it. I felt like that happened way too often with Quintravion Wisner. And I just don't know if he's going to get the carries that he got this past season. You saw, CJ Baxter is coming back, and we'll get to him later on in this video. I think he's a good back. I think he's probably going to be more of a receiving/blocking specialist at the next level. He could do some okay stuff as an outside runner, but I just don't know if he is this do-it-all, three-down type of back at the next level. So I've got Wisner at 14. Very curious to see how he looks in this upcoming season for the Longhorns. At number 13 on my list, I've got Jadarian Price. Scared you for a second there, but no, I think Jadarian Price is a really unique running back to kind of look at, and we're going to see what he looks like this year with another year under his belt. Really started to step it up as the year went on for Notre Dame last season. Was their backup for most of the year. 5'11", 202 pounds, a guy that ran for 744 yards and 7 touchdowns this past season. He's got really unique, blend of size and speed. I don't think he is this guy that is the biggest. I mean, he's 5'11", but when he hits that second gear, he is explosive, and you really saw that on display going into, which game did I watch of him? That USC game. He has a run where he breaks it to the outside, and he is just incredibly quick to hit that second gear. His shiftiness and the ability to juke guys out because he is so light on his feet, I absolutely love about him. I also think his contact balance, really good. Of the backs, he had a 4.5 yards after contact per attempt. The problem is the usage. He just hasn't really been given a full workload at the college level. He's kind of been a number 2, number 3 back throughout his college career. I expect those carries to jump this upcoming season, and I just don't think he's going to do much as a blocker or a receiver. Just 4 receptions for 10 yards this past season. Really didn't grade out all that well as a run blocker. That wasn't something he was asked to do. And even as a runner, there were times where he felt like he just wanted to get to that second level. And I didn't think he was the most patient runner in the world. Want to see that patience get better? Maybe that will come with a bigger workload. But from what I saw from Price, I think he is a good mid to a late day, maybe an early day 3 pick. I think I've got him as a 4th to a 5th round running back right now, because I do think the speed and the ability, the elusiveness on his feet, that's the word I'm looking for, is really impressive. So I've got Jadarian Price at number 13. Very curious to see if he takes that next step for Notre Dame this upcoming year. At number 12, we talked about it, the other Texas running back, and that is going to be CJ Baxter. Baxter's an interesting one because this is a guy that didn't play at all this past season. He played in 2023 as a true freshman and really stepped up in the absence of Jonathan Brooks. There's so much to love about what I think Jonathan Brooks could be, but it's all kind of projection right now. I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't even declare for this upcoming draft class, but there are things to really like. I love his size. He's 6'1", 220 pounds, and he uses that size. I think he does a really good job of running with power. He runs between blockers really well. I think he has the ability to block, which I loved to see. He's a good receiving back. He had good hands in that phase as well. And I loved the shimmy. I don't think he is the greatest athlete in the world. Seemed like he was a little bit slow off the snap, was not the most explosive guy in the world, and the vision was sometimes up and down, but he did showcase some elusiveness at times. He only had 2.94 yards after contact per attempt. That's a number that's definitely going to need to come up. He went down on first contact way too often, was not great at breaking tackles. This is fully a projection. I love the size. I think he's good enough on his feet. I think he's going to be able to make plays happen in the receiving game. But for a running back that's already not the fastest guy, coming off a torn ACL, I do think there are going to be questions on, is he going to be the most explosive player in the world? I loved what I saw as a true freshman, and I thought there were flashes in a offense that loves to run the football. I look for him to definitely take an interesting step up. We'll see kind of how they want to manage that workload between Wisner and Baxter. I like Baxter a little bit better as an NFL draft prospect, but they're both really solid players. At number 11 in my rankings, a guy that I really wanted to like more than I did, that's going to be Darius Taylor out of Minnesota. Now, the numbers on him are really good. I think he's an interesting player to kind of monitor for this season. Again, 6 foot even, 215 pounds. He's been at Minnesota the last 2 years, has put up phenomenal numbers. This past season, at 987 yards, 10 touchdowns for the Gophers. It was a big part of this offense. Had an 82.5 offensive grade. I love the size. This is a guy that I think has the potential to be maybe the best receiving back in this class. 54 receptions, 349 yards through the air, just 3 drops on 62 targets. So a guy that was targeted a lot in the receiving game. I thought he had a pretty diverse route tree for a running back. He has good vision. I love his contact balance. I think he does a good job of making guys miss in the open field. He's really light on his feet, but I just don't think he's a great athlete. And that's kind of why he missed out on the top 10. He's not very fast. I think he's probably going to be like between a 4.49 to like a 4.55 type of guy. He's not a guy that's going to be able to win with that long speed. I just don't think he's very elusive. He had 27 rushes of 10 or more yards, but a guy that just not a very good breakaway type of runner. On top of that, his rushing style, I think, comes back to hurt him. He runs very upright at times, which I think does lead to him being more susceptible to going down on first contact. Want to see him run a little bit lower, use that big frame a little bit more. There's a lot to like about Darius Taylor, and I definitely think he is a 3rd to a 4th round type of running back. The athleticism scares me a little bit, but I do like a lot of what he does. I think he could be a 3rd down back at the next level at the very least, because he is such a good receiving option. I've got him at number 11. He just missed out on the top 10, but definitely a player that I do like and think is going to be a name to watch this upcoming season. So getting into the top 10 now, at my number 10 spot, I've got Le'Veon Moss out of Texas A&M. Suffered an injury at the back end of last season, but when he really got it going this past season for Texas A&M, he looked like a potential high draft pick in last year's class. 765 yards, 10 touchdowns, had 2 fumbles, but this is a guy that only played in He ended up finishing his season in Week 10 against South Carolina. That was his last game. Another guy with a very similar frame to Darius Taylor. He's 6 foot, 215 pounds. The injury is going to be something that's kind of why he's a little bit lower. Just how is he going to look coming back from injury? But there's a lot to like. His burst and explosiveness, really impressive. When he gets the ball, he is looking to just run it into the heart of the defense. And he does have a really quick first step to hit that second gear. I also really like the power he runs with. He puts his head down. He's constantly fighting for extra yards. 4.4 yards after contact per attempt this past season. I like the power. I like the burst and explosiveness. And I like the contact balance. He had 2 fumbles last year, very similar to Darius Taylor. He is a very upright runner. He got tackled a little bit easier at times than you wanted to see. My issue with him is he is a straight line runner. The vision is really not all there. He's not a very nuanced rusher at this point. He is getting the ball and he is going. And, there are times where he can break away because he is so athletic, but I want to see that be maintained a little bit better. I want to see him rush with a little bit more patience. Wait for rushing lanes to open up. And if they do, this is a guy that has all the traits in terms of size and athleticism to really be a great player at the next level. Can he do some of the little things a little bit better is what I'm looking for. But him and Darius Taylor have the exact same grade for me. I ended up going with Le'Veon Moss simply because I just like the athleticism a tad bit better. But you could put Taylor at 10 and Moss at 11, and I wouldn't look at you any different. I think they're both really solid backs that will get taken at the back end of the 3rd to early 4th round if the draft were to be held today. At number 9, I've got Quentin Joyner. Really impressed by Joyner, and this Texas Tech team is going to be awesome to watch. I've got a video coming out on them later this week. I really liked what Quentin Joyner showed in limited carries. I mean, if you go back and you watch what the USC offense was doing this past season, they really did use Woody Marks a lot in their offense. But when given the opportunities, I thought Quentin Joyner looked like a NFL caliber back. He's got good hands in the receiving game, a guy that, 0 drops this past season on 14 targets. Wasn't targeted a ton just because he had limited offensive snaps. A guy that only played in 80 snaps in the entire season. 80 rushing snaps, I should say. Offensively, he played about 210 snaps. So a guy that really wasn't given a ton of opportunities this last year. But when he did, I thought he made the best of his opportunities. Good size at 5'11", 216 pounds. Had the power and contact balance. 4.5 yards after contact per attempt. His footwork and overall burst mixed in with his long speed is phenomenal. This is a guy that could take the top off the defense. He had some breakaway runs this past season. Again, I love the speed, but I didn't love the burst. I thought that his first step was not all the way there. Wanted to see him just explode a little bit better. And I thought that the usage is definitely something we need to see. He was utilized on limited snaps in a more demanding role. How can Quentin Joyner really capitalize? I think this is a guy with all the traits that you want. The speed, the size, the power, the receiving upside, I think, is certainly in there as well. Can he be a number one back? I think he can. This is another projection because he only did play 200 snaps this past year for USC, but in those snaps, I thought he looked phenomenal. I've got Quentin Joyner at number 9. I think he's a really solid player and a guy that's going to really put his name on NFL radars this upcoming season. At number 8 on my list, I've got the first of the 2 Penn State backs, and that's going to be Kaytron Allen. I've talked about Allen for the past couple of seasons. There are some things that I really like that Kaytron Allen can do, but I just think he's very limited at the next level. He's 5'11", 217 pounds. He's 22 years of age, will be 23 at the time of the draft. Look, the upside in pass protection is there. He is a power runner. I love the way that the guys at the NFL Stock Exchange put it. He brings the boom. He's a Costco guy. He is going to run through the defense. He puts his head down. He does the dirty work. He's a short yardage back. And I do like what he showed in terms of his footwork. He is a little bit more nimble on his feet than you would expect from a bigger back. The problem is he'll be 23 at the draft. I know Penn State fans are going to disagree with me here, but I just don't love the vision. I know that there are times where he sees lanes and he can really maneuver through it, but those feel few and far between. He feels like a guy that is just going to run through you. He's going to run through the heart of the defense, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I just think his role is going to be limited at the next level. He is a guy that I don't think has great speed, but a guy that's really good after contact. He is powerful. I think he can block. He's not going to be asked to do much in the receiving game. He's a very simple evaluation because I think he is what he is. I think he'll probably be maybe like a Gus Edwards type of back at the next level where he'll have a role. He'll be that short yardage back. He could be a nice stopgap starter for you, but I just don't think there's a number one running back at the next level. That's why I'm lower on him than I think most people would like to see. I could see myself being even lower, but I do love the power, and I do think because of the elusiveness, he does get a little bit of a boost. So I've got Kaytron Allen at number 8. At number 7 is a guy that I absolutely love. Probably my first true, well, no, I wouldn't say that. I was going to say he's probably my first true my guy of this class. I think that's probably Sawyer Robertson still. But DeMond Claiborne at Wake Forest is a guy that I think has, I'm not going to say I think he's got day 2 upside in this upcoming draft. A guy that ran for 1,053 yards this past season. Get this, through 3 years and 380 carries at Wake Forest. 0 fumbles. This is a guy that takes care of the ball. He's 5'10", 200 pounds. Man, the footwork and the shiftiness in the open field are phenomenal. I think this is a guy that has some of the best patience of any running back in this draft class. He waits for lanes to open up, and he's got the footwork to hit the cutback lanes. He's got great hands in the receiving game. He runs some really pretty routes. I mean, this is a guy that was utilized quite a bit, had 22 receptions, 250 yards. I thought the hands were overall really solid. The speed, I think this is a guy that will probably run like a 4.42 to maybe even a 4.38. I think he is a really fast back that's got shiftiness, and I think he's really light on his feet. The two things I want to see, I just think he struggled with some of the power elements of the game. He was not a good blocker. I thought he gave really poor efforts. He did not hold his ground very well. I didn't like his base. There were some things that I definitely thought could get cleaned up in that phase. And I just didn't love what I saw when he would run between the tackles. I thought this was a guy that is very much an outside runner. He wanted to bounce runs to the outside a lot, and that's fine. I think there's certainly a role for that. But if he's going to be an every down back, I want to see a little bit more of running through the heart of the defense. That wasn't necessarily there for Claiborne, but he's still my number 7 running back because the footwork, vision, patience, and the receiving upside, I think, are really, really high. So I'm a big fan of Damon Claiborne, and I've got him as my number 7 running back. At number 6, I've got Mekhi Hughes, formerly of Tulane, now at Oregon. A guy that I do think is going to have a really big year for the Ducks. I mean, there's a lot to really love. He's 5'11", 210 pounds. Let's just go through the negatives because there aren't a lot. I just don't think he's the fastest guy in the world. That's why he's at number 6. The vision, it's good. It's not great. I felt like there were times where he saw the lane and he was able to hit it, but there were other times where I just didn't see that. This is a guy that the contact balance I also thought was kind of hit or miss. And that's kind of it. I don't think he's bad at anything. Like, I don't think the long speed is bad. I don't think the contact balance is bad. He had 3.87 yards after contact per attempt. I don't think that he's even a bad, I don't think the vision is bad. It's just inconsistent. Moving up to the Power 4 level and going to a big-time program like Oregon is going to be really interesting to see what they can do. Now into the positives, I mean, the explosiveness and burst. What he lacks for speed, he makes up for in explosiveness. I think this is a guy that has some really, really good, I'm going to get the ball and just go. And I love that about him. I think he's really good in that phase. I liked what I saw from him in the receiving game. A guy that, 20 receptions, 180 yards. Yes, he had 4 drops. You'd like to see that get a little bit better, but he ran pretty routes. I think he's a good blocker. He's got a good frame at 5'11", 210 pounds. For 61 missed tackles this past year, 3.87 yards after contact per attempt. I don't think this is going to be a guy that's like the flashiest guy in the world. He is probably more of a power runner than a real speed threat. I just like some of what he does a little bit better than Kaytron Allen because I think he sees it a little bit better more often. I think he brings a little bit more as a receiver. And I just love the youth. This is a guy that is entering, I believe, his true junior season. So a guy that just has a lot of, I think, untapped potential. Really excited to see him at Oregon, a team that has produced 2 pretty high-level backs the last couple of years, and Bucky Irving and Jordan James. I think Mekhi Hughes slides in perfectly to that team. My hot take is by the end of the year, I wouldn't be surprised if we're talking about Mekhi Hughes as the number 1 back in this class. I really wouldn't. If he can fix that vision and we can see that speed, I think Mekhi Hughes has everything you want in a potential franchise running back. So I've got him at number 6. I'm really excited to see him at Oregon this next year. But we're entering the top 5, and I've got a big name or a big surprise here in Bryson Washington out of Baylor. Man, I'm really high on Baylor, as a lot of people know by now. Sawyer Robertson, my QB1. Bryson Washington, my RB5. Haven't looked at Josh Cameron yet, but I've heard some good things. There's a lot that I like about Bryson Washington, a guy that did get hurt in the bowl game against LSU, but 6 foot, 203 pounds, so I love the frame. This is a guy that had 177 carries, 1,035 yards, 12 touchdowns, 5.8 yards per attempt. Really solid number, 4.11 yards after contact per attempt. He is a really fun running back prospect. The size is there. We talked about that. I love the speed. When he hits that second level, he's explosive, and I think he's got real breakaway type of speed. strong after contact. He shrugs off defenders, would-be tacklers. I mean, had a really good stiff arm. I loved what they did with him as a receiving option, a guy that had 21 receptions, 210 yards on the season. I thought he made some plays in that phase. He wasn't really a full-time starter. My biggest thing with Washington, he's inconsistent, it felt like, on a week-to-week basis. I mean, he really started to pick it up down the year, had a 4-game stretch against TCU, West Virginia, Houston, and Kansas, where he had 100 yards in all 3 of those games, almost getting to 200, but had 106 yards against Air Force week 3. Next week against Colorado, on 10 carries, had 21 yards, 31 yards against BYU, 28 yards against Iowa State. I want to see him be more consistent on a week-to-week basis. Wanted to see him be better as a blocker, and I did think the vision was very hit or miss with him. Again, very similar to Mekhi Hughes. Don't think it's bad. It's just hit or miss. This is another projection. I think he's a really good player. I've got him as my number 5 back because I love the speed, love the size, love the power, and the ability to just shrug off defenders. And I think this is a guy that has all the makings of being a top back. At number 4, I've got Jaden Ott at Oklahoma, and I don't love it. And because I want to put Ott higher. Let me preface it by saying that. Jaden Ott, I'm kind of disregarding what happened this past season at Cal. Was banged up. The offensive line was abysmal. I mean, go back and watch. Whether you're watching Jaden Ott or you're watching Fernando Mendoza, I mean, that offensive line was putrid. It was awful. He didn't have good running lanes. But everything Jaden Ott does, I think he does at an exceptionally high level. 6 foot, 200 pounds. The open field speed is phenomenal. He's got good size. His shiftiness and footwork and the ability to juke guys out of their shoes, really good. He's got good patience. He's got really good vision for the position. He can run with speed and he can run with power. I really do think he has a underrated power element in his game that, I don't think gets talked about enough. You didn't see it this past year, but throughout his career, averaged 3 yards after contact per attempt. He's not a great blocker, not a great receiver, and his last year's numbers were not good. I mean, 385 yards on 116 carries, just 4 touchdowns on the year. Didn't eclipse 100 yards in any game this season. 1.94 yards after contact per attempt. Had 3 fumbles in 2023 that you'd like to see get cleaned up. But as a runner, the vision's there. When he's healthy, I think he is one of the best, if not the best running back in this class. I don't think that is a crazy thing to say. I think he's phenomenal. I've got him at number 4. I expect a big year this year at Oklahoma that will propel him back into elite conversations. But as of right now, you just got to see a little bit more consistency from him. And so I've got him at 4. We'll see how he looks this upcoming year. At number 3, I've got Jonah Coleman out of Washington. Washington has some legitimate playmakers this upcoming season with Damon Williams and Denzel Boston. I think this team is going to be really fun to look at. And Jonah Coleman has been a dog for this team. I mean, 5'9", 229 pounds. This is a thick boy. Pause. He just does a lot of things really well. Another guy that I think he does probably profile a little bit better as a power back. 229 pounds. I mean, this is a guy that had 4.34 yards after contact per attempt. Had 5.09 the year prior at Arizona. He followed Jed Fish to Washington, a guy that just runs through defenders. He's so hard to bring down. But I think it goes further than that. His footwork, I think, is really impressive. He's really light on his feet. He has the ability to make guys miss in the open field. I mean, I wrote down in pros that his footwork is great twice because I really think it's an underrated aspect of his game, how good and how light he is on his feet. I think he brings it as a blocker as well, which I loved. 0 fumbles throughout his college career. The reason he's not higher, he didn't do much as a receiver, just 23 receptions. And I just don't really love what I saw from him as an athlete. The long speed is concerning. He's really elusive. I don't think he's very fast, and that worries me a little bit. So got him in 3 for that reason, but there's so much to love about Jonah Coleman. And I think he's going to be a borderline first-round pick because he reminds me a lot of Omarion Hampton. I think that's probably going to be my early comp for him. He does remind me a lot of Omarion Hampton, and the rushing styles and the power. We'll see if he could be a little bit better, but I've got him at number 3. At number 2, I've got Nick Singleton, another guy I spent so much time talking about, kind of still a projection, but he's 6 foot, 224 pounds, and he's looked at as a bigger running back, but he plays so fast. He's so shifty. He's so explosive. This is a guy that will run 4.3 without question, in my opinion. I mean, there's so much to love. I think he is a more patient runner than he gets credit for. It's not always there, and I actually think he's patient to a fault at times because there are times where I think he just really, he's waiting, and then he gets tackled behind the line of scrimmage. It happens way too often, but a guy with burst and quickness and shiftiness and the long speeds there, I think he's got good hands, and he improved as a receiving back. He's got a limited route tree, but it definitely got better. I mean, I don't really have a lot of negative things to say. He's a first to a second round grade. I've talked about Nick Singleton for it seems like 3 years at this point because I love what he brings to the table. He's fast, he's big, he's powerful, the contact balance is there. I think he's an incredible running back, and I've got him at number 2. I just don't have a lot of negative things to say. But the reason he's at number 2 is because Jeremiah Love is at number 1. Jeremiah Love is phenomenal. In a loaded running back class last year, he would have been my RB2 with really no questions. I think I ended up finishing with Judkins as my RB2. I liked him better than Hampton. I think Love is better than Quinshon Judkins was. His power and the way he just constantly is moving his feet and keeping his legs churning, it is remarkable to see. I mean, his legs never stop moving. He's 20 years old, and he will be at the time of the draft. 6 foot, 212 pounds, had 1,100 yards, 7 yards per attempt, averaged 4.39 yards after contact. I mean, a guy that has great vision. The contact balance is great, but his speed and explosiveness matched with that power, it's just incredible. I mean, really, really impressive stuff to see from him. The explosiveness is just like, it's really weird to see just a big guy running this fast. The footwork is silly. I mean, there's so much to love about Jeremiah Love. No pun intended. I mean, the Texas A&M game where he's running through like 5 tacklers and continuing to fight for extra yardage. The vision can be spotty at times. I don't think it's bad, but it can be from time to time. He's an awesome player. So much that I love about Jeremiah and his game. And I've got him as my number 1 back. I think everybody probably does because he is such a talented and gifted runner. But a couple of honorable mentions that just missed. I mentioned that Anthony Hankerson had a 3-way tie basically, or 4-way tie basically for the spot. Justice Haynes, formerly of Alabama, now at Michigan, was my number 16 guy. I like him a lot. Good size. Just wanted to see the speed and vision be a little bit better. But I thought he had some really good one-cut ability. He felt like a one-cut runner, but that one cut was filthy. Desmond Reed out of Pittsburgh. Man, I wanted to like this guy more. 5'8", 175 pounds. He's a great receiving back. He's explosive. The speed is there. He's just undersized. He's not good after contact, and I don't think he's got great vision. The other one's Terrion Stewart, and he's 5'9", 220 pounds. Man, an older running back with a lot of miles on him, which scares me. But, man, a guy that is just elite after contact. He's great at making guys miss. He's got power. Some of the best contact balance you are ever going to see from a college running back in Terrion Stewart. And another guy that I want to shout out, a couple of guys that I think could be in this mix, CJ Campbell, formerly of FAU, now at Rutgers, was really productive in the receiving game. The contact balance is there. I'm intrigued by him making that step up. Jaheim White, I just don't think his size plays at the NFL. He's 5'7", 195 pounds. Undersized, not a great blocker, not a great receiver. Went down on first contact too much. A guy that some people like. And another guy I'll throw out there, CJ Donaldson at Ohio State. They always produce running backs. This is a guy that I think he's still learning the position, but I mean, if If Ohio State likes him, I'm willing to bet he's really good. He's been productive at West Virginia, former tight end converted to running back. So those are a couple of honorable mentions for you guys. Would love to hear from you in the comment section. Which players do I need to get eyes on that I didn't mention at all? Would love to hear from you down in the comment section. Leave a like, subscribe if you are new, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Adios.